Hello, friends, Romans, and also countrymen, and welcome to the second Nameless Pixel Podcast. I am joined by my lovely guests, Jack and Sharkadile. And yeah, before we get into anything, I'm going to say check out our website, namelesspixel.net. We post a video every single day except for Sundays. So yeah, other than that, let's get right in. So let's start the way that we, finger quotes, usually start, seeing as that this is the second podcast. And let's talk about... Oh no, sorry. Sorry, I have the stream up and it's being annoying. Let's talk about what games we've been playing this week. So, who would like to start?
I don't mind starting, actually.
All right.
Well, I've so I mean this I've been doing sort of a lot of schoolwork lately, so I haven't had maybe as much time to really get into some games as I'd like to. But I did actually. I've been sort of intermittently been replaying through.
Oh no! Say. Can I?
There we go.
Hold on.
Oops.
We've got hold on. We're having some technical issues. We'll be back in a sec.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Jack was having some technical issues with his camera. Hopefully, they will not persist. So anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah.
Ben,
okay. Anyway, as I was saying, I haven't been playing as much stuff lately, but I have been sort of intermittently over the past month replaying through Half-Life 2. So, which isn't a terribly long game, but it's an awesome game. What can I say? We all, I'm sure, love Half-Life 2. Those of us who have played it, and it's really cool. And what's funny is maybe this isn't even as related to what I've actually been playing, but I just recently got some software that let me hook up a PlayStation controller to to my laptop, which is where I have Half-Life 2 on Steam. And so I played the last couple of levels of it with the controller, which is really cool because the first time I played Half-Life 2, it was on the orange box with the Xbox. So it was really this is what it was like, which is really cool. And I've also sort of been trying to chipping away at Meat Boy slowly, which is a really good game to jump into and just play 20 minutes of if you're gonna kill some time or something. And it's man, it's just getting harder and harder, which is Meat Boy, you died again. Screw you. But no, it's good though. And I've still been. It's my roommate's a big fan of Call of Duty Zombies. So a new map pack just got released the other day, and I've been sort of tagging along and playing some of that with him, which is pretty fun. And I've been doing that. So that's basically where I'm at right now.
All right. One thing I'm gonna jump in real quick. I'm sure you noticed that I popped up some footage of Half-Life 2 there on the stream. Fancy. Yeah, so I directly stole that from the TGS podcasts. No shame whatsoever. Yeah, so we'll have that so we can bring up relevant videos of what we're talking about. Anyway, Jack, to you.
All right. Well, let's see. Recently, I've been kind of taking a trip down memory lane, playing Destroy All Humans 1 and 2 a bit, revisiting those. I gotta say, I've forgotten how good the atmosphere was for the first one. It takes place during the Cold War, and they really nailed that. The gameplay itself isn't necessarily all that complex or, really too interesting. A lot of it is just killing humans. But I really thought they got the vibe and the feel just for that era down perfectly in the first one. In the second one, it's all about the crazy weapons.
Yeah, I've never actually played that series, but.
No.
I always saw it for.
I saw it. Never played
it's for PlayStation, right?
Oh yeah. PlayStation, the original, and they stopped at the second one, so you've really only got a little bit of gameplay in each, but it's sandbox, so after you finish that story mode, you're pretty much just walking around destroying humans.
Yeah, I'll have to try that out sometime, because I do have a PlayStation, but
yeah,
I don't really have many games for it, so...
Mm-hmm. Let's see, more recently I've been getting back into Myst on the computer, and
Cool.
Yes! Favorite game series!
I have missed
so
that
good.
game.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no!
Okay, question is, have you
Podcast
played...
ruined.
Yes, it is ruined. We're quitting now, that's it. We're done.
Yeah, bye.
That's it. Bye. Thank you for watching. We've been
Oh, man.
Nameless Pixel Podcast. Have you played Riven?
I haven't yet, and I need to. That's what I've actually been working up to. I want to play through the first few and then get to Riven.
Excuse me one second.
No, that's totally cool. I always... Sorry, actually, go ahead.
Oh, you guys can't see me, but the podcast can. I'm just going to hold up my really, really nice boxed copy of Riven right here.
I wish I could see it.
Yeah, you could borrow it sometime, because I haven't played it in ages, so if you
Okay.
want to borrow that, yeah. I've got it
Now,
in its
see-
nice, sexy case and everything.
I always heard about Myst, and I know it's so famous, but I never played it. I think part of that is because I was always I've always been a console gamer for a really long time, and I only got my first computer maybe not even that long ago, this summer. So I think that's part of it, but could you guys maybe explain to me a little bit more about Myst, because I know just really basic stuff about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's a point-and-click adventure kind of game, but it's a point-and-click mystery game is the big thing. And so you're solving puzzles and going through these weird and strange landscapes and trying to sort of figure out the story piece by piece as you go. And the whole thing, I actually played this game with my dad on our first Mac that we ever had. And it was a beautiful bonding experience, and we bought the strategy guide and we cheated through the game, and it was awesome.
You too.
Cool.
But
my dad and I did the same thing.
yeah, it was a beautiful experience. But the whole thing is very much focused on strange visuals. So it's the landscapes are really weird, and the buildings are all very strange, and it gives you this sense of wonder, because you're like, well, what am I looking at? You can't quite figure out why is this building like it is, and why are these buildings where they are, just sitting on an island. But the visuals look dated going back. I've gone back and looked. They definitely look dated, but they actually look pretty good as far as the for being single animation still shots. They look pretty good for as far as concept. It's a pretty beautiful game though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I always heard about it.
Yeah, it's also known for this kind of logic that's really hard to fathom, because you're just this puzzle, what? It's, you move blocks, and then something somewhere on the island happens, and you have to figure out what happened, and then go solve the puzzle that opened. And it's this weird, ethereal logic, but it's a really beautiful game. And what, I actually have some footage of the beginning of Myst up on the stream right now. But what I want to kind of equate it to, which is a game that's coming out soon, it's something that's kind of recent, is Jonathan Blow's new game, The Witness. Now, have either of you guys seen anything for that?
Nothing. No.
Yeah.
So Jonathan Blow, if you don't know, is the guy who made Braid. And
Braid.
he's known for these really weird, conceptual games. And The Witness looks very much like Myst. It's a very colorful... if you guys actually look on the stream, you'll be able to see... I have some video up of the trailer. But,
oh, yeah, there it is.
It's very much... It looks very much like Myst, but very colorful and bright. And from what I've read about it, it's very much about, mazes. And you find all of these things where you have to find the right path to like open doors, and usually that path is like you trace it out on some sort of like board, but the path is based on some sort of physical path you took through the level, and it's like it looks like Myst with Jonathan Blow puzzle logic. And I'm very excited about it.
Cool.
It's a very cool looking game, and it's
pretty cool. Rated a great concept.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's going to be a PlayStation 4 early exclusive.
PlayStation
That's
4.
it's one of the things they've been showing as an early exclusive thing. So I think it will be coming out on other platforms, but PlayStation 4 will have it first, like probably by a month or something. But yeah, so that's a game that I'm actually quite looking forward to.
Yeah, it looks great. I love this trailer.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful trailer. So
I really need to get this game.
yeah, it looks like a new Myst, which that makes my heart do little ba-dump-a-dumps, because Myst was a huge part of my childhood.
Oh yeah.
And I've been meaning to go back and play all of them again, now that I have, the adult brain and not a small child brain, and can try to figure out some of the logic.
Exactly. Now we'll actually be, figuring out logic as opposed to just randomly clicking shiny objects on the screen.
Very, very, yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, so...
It comes out. Mm-hmm.
So, for me, I haven't been playing much new stuff. Decent amount of Awesome Knots. Ben and I have been playing a decent amount of Awesome Knots now that...
I keep forgetting to say that. Yeah, Awesome Knots is
So the new Awesome Knot came out, who is voiced by Jesse Cox, who is a prominent YouTuber, and he's Genji the Pollen Prophet. And he's I think the only other healer character except for Yuri. So if you guys don't play Awesome Knots at all,
Voltar is the other healer, but Yuri does healing too.
Yeah. Well, so I should explain that the way that Awesome Knots work is that there are all of these different characters, and they all serve a different function. So I think there are roughly there are three like heavy characters. There's I think 3 lighter characters who are sort of more roguey. So the heavy characters are Clunk, Derpal, and Skoldier, and then you've got Leon. Yeah, Leon. Leon.
I would probably group Leon, Lone Star, and Froggy G.
Froggy G. Yeah, I couldn't think of Froggy G. Yeah, and Froggy G. Those are kind of your lighter characters that are a bit faster, can a little more agile,
but still like ground units who are sort of frontline fighters, but have to retreat because they have low health and stuff. Yeah,
so now there's like kind of a weird subsection where there's a guy called Voltar who is like straight up healer, and all of his moves pretty much are healing. But then we've got Yuri and Genji, who are kind of spot healers where they can do minimal healing quickly, but they're not like focused on being healing characters. But they're also not in the sort of group of harassing characters, which are like which are Vinny and Spike. Well, yeah, Yuri kind of crosses over. Yuri's in there with Vinny and Spike and Coco.
You can build him a little more support or a little more harass.
Yeah. But, so we've been playing quite a bit of Awesome Knots since Genji came out. And I quite like Genji, actually. Playing Genji's quite a bit of fun.
His healing can be pretty good, and then he's doesn't have bad power either, which is...
Yeah, especially if you get if you upgrade his shield ability to heal both yourself and other players. Oh, I should post Facebook.
Yeah. Anyway, it's been cool, and I'm still pretty new at the game, so I haven't tried out all the characters, and like I haven't even played. I don't know what's her name, girl with the laser, and like Derpal. I haven't played that. Reelin, and whatever. Raylan.
I don't know. I never know how to pronounce it. It's like that dumb AE. Where it's like Raylan.
She's like an elf, I guess, or something.
Something like that.
Elf with like a big laser.
So, yeah, I've been playing Awesome Knots. I've been playing your standard things. I haven't actually been playing Chivalry much. which I probably should continue to practice. But let me just grab this prop for this last game that I've been playing. I've been playing quite a bit of TF2, holding up the Scout's shotgun. Yeah. So yeah, I've been playing... Yes, I know I have this, and I'll explain stuff about it later at some point, maybe. But, yeah, I've been playing...
Cool prop.
Yeah, it is cool. I've been playing TF2 a decent amount, and...
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit too, actually.
I went in, because... So, I kind of quit playing TF2 a while back for no apparent reason other than just, like, time and laziness. And then every time I went in and played, I was really bad. And then I came back this time and I was like, oh, I'm going to get good at it. Like, I'm actually going to spend the time to get good. And it took, like, 2 games, and then I was like, oh, wow, I can actually, like, play this still. And so, it's cool, because, like, I got back into it, and now I'm actually playing games pretty consistently. It's fun. So
yeah, I love Team Fortress so much.
Yeah, great game.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played, but for a while there, I mean, I was playing quite a bit.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. What would you say your favorite class is there? I know you're playing Scout, but
Actually, I play Soldier.
Really?
Contrary to my handy props. Yeah, I played Scout. Actually, the reason I built that at one point was because when I started playing TF2, I played Scout like super consistently, and I never got very good at it. But I was like, I play Scout. That's what I play. And then I tried Soldier, and I was like, oh, I'm actually good as Soldier.
Oh,
that would.
Yeah.
Well,
You
done
found your
playing
calling.
Scout then. And so I dabble in all of the classes, of course, because I like to, be able to be decent-ish at any class, so I can play all the classes. Kind of except for Engineer. I'm really, really bad at Engineer. But all of them except Engineer I can play, to a certain level. But I would say Soldier is my best, with Scout probably being my second best. What about you?
I don't know. For me, usually when I was playing, it was heavy. I played a little bit of medic occasionally when I first started out, but once I really got into my stride, I love the Scout. That speed is just so nice to have, especially with the triple jump. I forget what item does that, but
The Force of Nature.
The atomizer.
Oh, well,
gives you
actually,
the triple jump,
Yeah, the atomizer gives you the
but
triple
the
jump.
Force of Nature gives you like an optional extra, like you can shoot it kind of as a jump. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly,
you
I
can
remember
use it
that
as a
one.
jump. So
But yeah, I love being nimble and fast and just running around the heavies, beating them that bad.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're talking about TF2 a little bit, I'm fine with talking about TF2. I love Team Fortress. As far as I go, I actually really flop around like with the classes a lot. I often kind of look at whatever the team, kind of maybe is lacking or would be able to use, or something. Like if I run into a situation as one class where I'm like, wow, I'm just gonna get killed here, and then I get killed. I'm like, well, what would be better at that? Would be this class or something. So I switch around a lot, is what I'm saying. But I do clock in the most hours as Soldier, just because that's sort of my like standard for if I don't really know like what class I might want in a situation. Like if I'm joining a server, I don't know what's going on. Just because the Soldier is like such a solid class. Like you can never really have too many soldiers. Like soldiers are always just like useful on attack defense, like no matter what. I mean, obviously sometimes you might need a different class, but it's not because like you didn't need a soldier. It's because like you would need another class more or something. But anyway, yeah, like so I love the Soldier, but I also really love the Demo Man just because he has such a high like damage output, and I just throw stickies down everywhere, and it's so much fun. But and like I like sniping too. I'm not like excellent at it. Sometimes I do pretty well, but sniping is like doesn't necessarily like help your class a ton unless you're like help your team a ton unless you're pretty good at it or getting some like, or there's a pretty consistent situation where like they have 5 heavies or something and you're just like killing all the heavies. But I love all the classes though. I like Engineer. I would say like Engineer's not my favorite. My least favorite class is actually the Scout. I don't hate, like here. I would say I do not hate the Scout at all because the Scout is like one of the, I think actually like one of the best classes because I mean, like, there is no best class, and like it's unfair to say that there is a best class in any situation. But like, I occasionally watch a little bit of competitive play, and like the scout is always like used almost as frequently as like, well, I'm not okay. I'm not going to say that, but the scout is like very frequently used as part of the standard build just because it's so good at like flanking and getting those fast kills with a scatter gun and capping points and running to the middle fast and like etc. And I think the scout is really valuable in some of the things it does with that. But the little shitheads just like running around and like going like like shooting you and being like badoo badoo badoo. Hey buddy, you need a dispenser here, and I'm like stop. I shoot him with a missile and he blows up. I'm like, that's very satisfying.
Yeah, I think there is a distinct and big difference between a really good scout and somebody who can play scout. Because you see that a lot on servers where people are just like, people who play scouts just run around like, boom, shoot you, and you do like just a bit of damage and run away, and you're just like, fuck, it's like a fly, and you're just like, just go away. Like,
hold on, like
stop.
when you get a server where you have just a lot of kind of basic scouts, it's pretty much just like having a bunch of gnats flying around.
Yeah,
it doesn't do much.
But when you really see like a good scout, they can. I think the key thing with the scout is not so much doing damage. I think it's being really good at capping points and like being able to cap a point and run away, or cap a point like part way and then run away and come back and cap it. But like, they are, contrary to what you would think, I think what makes a really good scout is their ability to move around and like get out of dangerous situations, but not so much do damage.
Yeah.
Because that's what you usually see in competitive play, is they're really heavy on like capping points and
yeah, I would agree with you for a lot of that and disagree with you on like a little bit of that too though. I would say that yes, well like the scouts are absolutely about mobility. That's like that's what makes them good.
Yeah.
And like capping points is obviously like a huge thing for them. Like you do see like, you know, soldiers and demo men have their rocket jumps, and so they can sometimes, or like rocket jumps and sticky bomb jumps, respectively. So they have a little bit of mobility sometimes, and the thing, like if you get a good demo man or a good soldier, like they can come in and have enough power to take out scouts. But like the thing is with the scouts is, and I think what irritates me about them sometimes, and this is just like a pet peeve because like I said before, the scouts are like absolutely a totally like valuable part of gameplay, and I have no problem with them being in the game. It's just like, so a lot of people, let's say, find like snipers and pyros irritating.
Yes, very much so.
I don't know. I would say I snipe. I snipe occasionally. Like snipers maybe my like fourth most played class, and I like sniping. So whenever someone gets like a good snipe off of me, and I'm like running around the battlefield, I'm like, it's good. It's a good snipe. It's a good snipe, man. All right, I'll come back and like I'll watch for you this time, and you won't be able to pick me off, and I'll like maybe I'll try to counter snipe you or something. But I always am sort of like, all right, like he got me, like whatever, he got me. That was fair enough, you know. And that's sort of the same thing with the pyros. Like pyros, I used to play a lot more of, I guess, because like they used to be like my number 2. Actually, Demo Man is by far my number 2 now. But I used to play a little more pyro, and I like pyros because like they're sort of like, the thing about pyros is they're like the least used in competitive play because they're really underpowered when it comes to the pros, because they have no range and like everything just kills them before they can like get to it. But I really like I do find some like because of that I find some like there's definitely some skill in like those combos where they you degrease, extinguisher, like insta kill you, or and like being set on fire is like annoying but also like a part of the game. And like if pyros didn't have that set, like setting people on fire, they would just be the worst things in the entire world. Like a flamethrower would be pointless. And so I mean I get some of that, and it's just like the thing about also with like a pyro and engaging a pyro is like there's usually like you have time to fight back, unless maybe, I mean like there's always those situations where they did flank you, or you like walked around a corner and you're a sniper and you're like, well,
yeah,
I'm dead now. But like I always feel like there's some little like fight that happens with a pyro, and like I might have been a soldier and like trying to like blast him, and I hit him, and then like he ended up getting. With the scouts, what happens to me is when it's like a skilled scout, and obviously when it's like an unskilled scout, they don't do much, and like they just die or like run away or something, and that's like can be good or bad depending on what they're trying to do. But like what just irritates the crap out of me is like when like a scout like keeps like going around behind me or something and like shooting me twice and getting like the kill with the double scattergun blast. I'll be like, oh well, I didn't see him there. Like you got me, good one. And then like it happens again, and I just
Yeah.
Or like sometimes you have that moment where like you're trying to get him and you see him coming at you and he's like so fast that you're like trying to kill him, and I'm like, good demo man with like the pipe bombs. Fucking stop!
Yeah.
And, like
Actually,
and then like and he's just like and I can't hit him or something. And obviously like that's a matter of like skill. Like I didn't like he was faster than me and I just didn't hit him. But like it just is annoying sometimes for me. And anyway, I've been like ranting about scouts way too much. Like I said before, I think they're like an absolutely valid and valuable part of the game. But
yeah, it's totally fair because I was gonna say that when we were playing that the like capture the intelligence map, whatever the game mode's called, I can't remember, but we were playing that map and capture the intel or whatever.
Yeah.
We were playing that map, and one of the big things that I saw, because I was playing soldier and I was doing a lot of defense, one of the things I saw is a lot of scouts had, now I don't know what the scout, like, the item is that does this, but it makes them really fast, briefly, and you can miss them, even if you hit them.
Oh, yeah. It's
Nuka-Cola.
Bonk.
Bonk.
Atomic
Is
Punch.
it Bonk?
Yeah,
Okay.
Atomic Punch. Yeah, sorry.
Good lord, is that annoying. Because they'll run in,
really
and I will shoot them like 6 times as they're fucking or as they're taking the intel, and I'll just be like, no, come on, just... and as soon as it runs out, they die. But it's just like really annoying, because they move it like 6 feet.
That's the thing,
It's like, they move the intel 6 feet and then die. And then another one runs in, moves it like 6 feet and then dies. And I'm just like, no!
And the
Stop
thing about
it!
that is, like, they designed the scout to be able to do things like that and be quick enough to at least touch it and, reset it.
Yeah.
But, like, it is really annoying, and, I mean, obviously the bonk is, like, balanced because, like, you don't get a pistol, which is a really good, like, weapon for the scout to have. And, like, you don't actually get to cap or take the intelligence while you're under its effect, but you can just, like, stand on it.
Yeah.
And then wait for it to run out and be like, oh, I got it! And then, like, maybe
Yeah.
engineer's sentry, like, blows you up or something, but, like, you reset it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that also, like, I really hate the force of nature. I'm just gonna be like, I mean, like, it's fine. Like, I don't mind using it. Like, I actually don't use it because I really prefer the regular scattergun with its 6 shots. But I hate it when people kill me with it. I'm like, oh, you suck. Like,
That just... It always reminds me, it warms my heart the one time I killed you when we were playing. I just ran past, like, boom, boom, done.
Yeah, because the force of nature has the quicker fire, so it's like, boom, boom, and like...
Yeah. I always
as
use
hell.
the force of nature, because it emphasizes the mobility of a scout, because you have that technically third jump.
Yeah, like, not only is it the third jump, but it is really, like... That's like, the skill shot with the scout is, like... Like, that's, like, the equivalent of the pyro doing the... like degreaser extinguisher combo is like a scout getting like a 2-shot kill with like the scattergun or the force of nature. So it is like it is like a good weapon because it emphasizes like that sort of flanking like swift kill that you can get with the force of nature, and it's just like the scattergun's a little better at like general battles. But it's annoying. I'm just like, and I'm just complaining, like, there's nothing, like, scouts are good classes, like, they should be in the game. And it would be, like, a way worse game without it, because, like, there's all these, I mean, that's what I love about TF2, there's all these, like, checks and balances, and it's, like, everything is, like, working out, and...
Yeah, it's a great game. I'm always thoroughly impressed with how balanced it stays, even though they keep introducing weapons and things.
Oh, yeah.
And no matter what, it's still a very balanced game, unless it's certain situations, like in MVM, for example, being a scout is not really that great, because you don't really serve that good of a purpose, but it's like in actual battles, then everyone kind of has their place, and everything works out. So I'm always thoroughly impressed with that they managed to keep it completely balanced.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like,
sure pros will argue against me and be like, no, this weapon does just incrementally this too much damage.
Yeah,
from it,
I would.
you know.
I don't know. I mean, like, I think it's an exceptionally well balanced game, and that's part of what like. I don't know. I don't really have I do not have a ranking of like what my favorite games are, but it's definitely like up there, probably in almost certainly in the top 5 actually, I would say. And I think one of the things they do with a lot of weapons that they release into the game, like, is they're oftentimes like worse or more situational at least than like the weapons that are the default weapons, which is like sometimes disappointing and sometimes like, well, you didn't unbalance it. There you go. But like I was playing, I just got the loose cannon as the demo man, like I unlocked it, and it's like it's not better than the pipe bombs, but it is a cool weapon. Like
that's the thing. I mean,
yeah.
They seem to sell these weapons based kind of more on the idea of the interesting mechanics and different cool add-ons that they add in, but usually those add-ons aren't especially great.
Yeah, it does seem to be really hit and miss. Like sometimes the and actually that's kind of nice because like sometimes the weapons are just like ignored, and that's like fine because it doesn't affect gameplay. But then you do have like there are definitely weapons like the degreaser and the axe extinguisher. Like those are big. That put like a whole new twist on what you can do with the pyro. Like actually, I would say one of the things they did, like the original pyro with like nothing else, and like when none of the game was like any different, was like not a team player at all, and like wasn't very useful for anything. And like now. Like I know it like barely ever gets used in competitive battles, but occasionally it does because you can surprise someone with a pyro and get like an axe extinguisher kill on them and like take out the medic or something, and then it's like chaos and the pyro just burns everything. Or like anyway, I'm getting on a tangent, but like there are like I do love how there's some really cool weapons that like change a class's mechanics, like the Dead Ringer as the spy. I love the Dead Ringer.
Yeah,
that is a great weapon.
I just got it.
So good.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not unbalanced. Like I mean, it's kind of annoying sometimes. Like if you're like if you one shot a spy and you're like, well, he's a Dead Ringer. I can't really do anything about that because I'm not a pyro right now.
Yeah.
But whatever. But like it's good because he can't go invisible. He can, or he does, but like you can't choose to go invisible without getting hit. So it's like they know there's a spy there. Anyway, but like it's a good weapon that sort of changes the class a little bit, but it doesn't unbalance it or anything. And it's really cool to see that kind of options for players because I personally like love the Dead Ringer and I almost always play with it unless there's a situation where I say like to myself, the Dead Ringer isn't good here. But it's cool because like I wouldn't even play the spy that much if it weren't for the Dead Ringer, and I love it with the Dead Ringer. So I think that's really cool, and there's a lot of weapons that are cool like that. I just there's so many like good additions, and obviously the community is like so cool and has suggested so many of these ideas and like models, which is something that's also really cool and just great to have that interactivity between the developer and the players. I love Team Fortress 2. That's moral of the story.
That's a great game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, seems like a good time to get on to the topic.
Yeah.
So that was a good discussion about Team Fortress 2, though. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
So
let's we go on tangents.
Today's topic is gimmicks in video gaming hardware. Now, this is specifically kind of inspired by recent happenings with the PlayStation 4 and their talk of adding in, or actually their showing of adding in the little like light sensor in the back, which is very heavily rumored that it's going to have PlayStation Move functionality, which means that the controller will be like a regular controller, but also have functionality like a Wii controller or a Move controller, where it'll have not just minimal, motion sensing kind of stuff, but like full-on motion sensing kind of things. And also just the growing trend in consoles now where, the PlayStation has always been the solid like standard of not boring consoles, but basic. It's always been basic, and the controllers have always been the same controller pretty much, and the hardware has always been focused on power, but they've never been big on gimmicks. They've always been big on raw power and general accessibility. And it's interesting now that there's this growing trend of having to have a gimmick, and that now they're actually integrating this gimmick into their new system, where before they probably never would have, unless because of the Wii now and the Wii U, they've kind of that there's been this big push to have a gimmick on your system to really make it unique. And I'm actually really interested to see what Microsoft's response to the announcement of the PS4 is, and what they're going to come out with. But yeah, so there's the topic.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of one of the things I've been interested in is, with all this talk about gimmicks and all these different kind of gimmicks that are coming out with motion control. I really wonder though, is there actually any place really for motion control in the console industry, and where should that place be? Maybe aside from party games, because that's the obvious choice there. Is there actually any place where these things could not be gimmicky and could actually add to the console?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I suppose the Wii has been kind of built around it, not really. Well, I mean, okay. In theory, the Wii and Wii U are built around it not being a gimmick and really having their games work around them. But in actuality, often it becomes a gimmick. But
yeah.
I think there's a place for it. I mean, I think there's definitely a market for these games, because I would love to see really great motion control games. Yeah. I would love to see it, and
yeah,
I'm going to bring up the example of like one of my favorite developers ever, Quantic Dream, who made Fahrenheit and made Heavy Rain. That's what I was thinking of. And Heavy Rain, there is a PlayStation Move version of it. And it actually is integrated really well, because where normally you'd be like waggling a joystick to perform a certain action, because the way a lot of the game works is QuickTime events, and a lot of the QuickTime events you have to perform a certain like sort of waggle with the controller. Okay. It's actually more accurate and better with a Move controller, because you can do these gestures and stuff, and you're like holding combinations of buttons while you do these things, and I think that there's actually a really good place for it, but I don't think developers are gonna take advantage of that. I don't think they know how to take advantage of it, really.
Yeah, really, we haven't had too many good motion games to look at yet as examples. I mean, so far all we really know how to do is gimmick.
Okay, well, one thing I'm going to say, I'm going to put on the trailer for this as we talk about it, but Zack and Wiki is my, like, oh, there's volume for that, I'm very sorry about that. It is my never-ending, like, perfect example of not motion control not being super gimmicky in a Wii game. And I've only played the game once, and I have yearned to beat it and play it again, because it's really, really great. But it's this adorable puzzle game, and all of the puzzles revolve around different kinds of movements with the Wii controller. So, for example, there's a puzzle where I believe it works where you have to like distract these enemies that are sitting around this big pot of soup, and they're like talking about their soup or something, and you distract them by ringing a bell, which is part of it. So you're like off at a corner and you wave the controller like you're ringing a bell, and then that distracts them. But then you have to go, and to make sure that they don't notice that something's up, you have to keep stirring the soup so they can like smell the soup and be like, oh, the soup is still on. So you have to do this like stirring motion while you're figuring out like, oh, how do I solve these puzzles? And so you're doing things like turning keys in locks, or like tossing rocks at things, or holding the Wiimote up like straight up and down and turning it as if to like sort of move a little like lever or something, and it functions where you would use it. Like you just saw in the trailer there, people were watching the stream. There's a part where you have to drop a bomb, and to drop the bomb, you hold the Wiimote sideways and then shake it. So I think it's a game that takes advantage of those kind of controls perfectly, because the entire game is built around these controls, and it doesn't feel gimmicky because the game isn't throwing it in at you where it's like you walking around and all of a sudden motion control stuff. It's like the entire game is built around these premises of doing these puzzles with motion control.
See, I like that. The whole idea of you really do have to design for the controller.
Yeah, it seems like it's really something that is gonna, you can't go halfway on sometimes. Like, it's gonna make or break your game. What I will say is I think is a really good, what I think did a really good job of using the motion controls, and in a really subdued way too, actually, was, well, I thought Mario Kart Wii did a pretty great job of using motion controls. And the thing is, like, the motion controls in that game were pretty, like, minimal, honestly. Like, all you were doing with the motion controls was turning the wheel. But, like, as far as, this is a party game. But as far as it went, it was fun. Like, you turn the wheel, your car goes most of the time pretty much the right direction. I personally felt like I didn't ever have any issue, like, with and in fact, this is one of the few games, if not the only game, where they give you the option to use a GameCube controller, which is, like, default favorite controller. And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, like, the Wii controller is fine. Like if you're talking about like Smash Bros or something, I'm like, screw that. Give me the GameCube controller. But
I see what you mean there. Yeah. With Mario Kart, I definitely remember playing that and enjoying the controller. I thought that it worked well, and it was really accurate, surprisingly so, in fact.
I when I first played it, I was like, you know what? This is like one of the first games where this is like a really accurate, like, this feels good. Like, it doesn't feel unnatural or like weird.
That's what I'm kind of...
Oh, go for it, Jack.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, in terms of that kind of thing, I love it, but it's just, I really want to be able to experience stuff like, Heavy Rain or...
it is such like a basic, like, there's, it is kind of gimmicky, and of course, like, it is like sort of natural for, like, the racing game to be like, well, you're gonna turn a wheel, like, that makes sense, and I think part of that is why that worked in that game, is because that wasn't necessarily such a gimmick. It was like, that makes sense for the game to have that, but at the same time, that is such a simple game, and, like, honestly, if like they had I think it is better for having the Wii controller with the wheel, but, like, it doesn't change the game at all to have had it with the wheel. Like, it could have been the GameCube, like, controller, and it would have been the same game.
Yeah, like, so, we see a game where it's like they didn't screw it up by adding motion control, but they didn't make it fantastic by adding it either.
Yeah, it's like something where motion control worked, but like there was nothing about it was necessary to the gameplay or the aspects of the game, and I think that as technology gets better, like, we are eventually, like, someone's gonna say, hey, this, like, new technology is really good. We can make a good game with this where we swing a sword around and, like, totally destroy people with it. What I will say also is that I thought was pretty good was with the Wii Motion Plus was Zelda
Skyward
Sword. Thank you guys. Wow, yeah.
Don't worry.
Skyward Sword did a pretty good job, and again, like, this is not a game that was entirely based around motion control, but it did have a lot, like, the feel of certain like battles, and like, a lot of the using the sword, which was so motion control based, would be different. And sometimes it did feel a little gimmicky, where it was like pretty cool how you would have to slash in a certain direction to, like, hit the guy, but it was also, like, a little bit annoying sometimes. You're like, just want to slash, and, like, wouldn't necessarily, like, always do exactly the right angle. Like, you'd have to do a diagonal, and it would just kind of be like and so that was, like, sometimes good. I would say overall, I would say you did a good job. Yes. Not necessarily brilliant all the time, but was a good game, and
it's getting closer.
I would say that's getting closer. Like, that had things where it utilized the motion control, and like, some of the things about the game would have been different without motion control and would have had to been designed differently. And I think they did definitely know that they wanted to use motion control for the sword, and that they structured that part of the game around that. But what I say what might even stand out a lot more than the sword, and which is almost is like the little events where, like you say, you're aiming the arrow or you're shooting the bug, and some of the items like that worked pretty darn well with the motion controls because they're maybe a little simpler. And as far as the sword goes, great idea, but maybe the technology isn't quite as responsive as I want it to be yet. I think, and obviously they did try to do it. I didn't even play these games because I just heard they were terrible. But like, the Force Unleashed, the Star Wars Force Unleashed.
Oh god.
Tried, yeah. You see the ones already. Like, tried to do some stuff with motion control, and that's like, Star Wars is like the perfect kind of game to use motion controls for.
Yeah.
But obviously the technology just wasn't doing it, and they didn't, and they couldn't, they couldn't or they wouldn't, design something that was working well to have a fun experience with that.
Yeah.
And it'll be. I gotta say that like I don't like need motion controls in my games, but if they release a Star Wars game, or something with where you like choke people and you like pull people into you and then you like slash them with the lightsaber, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Like that'd be totally sweet. But it didn't work very well in the Force Unleashed. So.
Yeah, I've just been sort of trawling through YouTube, finding interesting clips, and I was thinking about when we were talking about Skyward Sword here is I was thinking about the Zelda game for Wii U and the sword part of that, and I've played it, and it's actually what I would have hoped that Skyward Sword was.
Really?
Where,
I have not played that yet.
Now, and the slicing is like as one-to-one as you can get. Like you're like, what? Like do your like ka-choo thing, and Link or your little me goes ka-choo with the sword, and it's like you wave it about and he waves it about just at the same time that you do, and it's like it feels. It may not be as one-to-one as you think it is.
Hold on, this is the
I should specify this is the Nintendo Land.
This is Nintendo Land. Yeah, they got the I did play that. They got the motion controls a little bit better in that game. It does seem like they're working with it, especially since they're this is the platform for their consoles is like motion controls is what their thing is. And that is just a little bit better than Skyward Sword. I mean, obviously, this is sort of a party game, and isn't going to give you the in-depth experience that Skyward Sword or a new Zelda game might. But yeah, it'd be really cool if they could, keep working on that motion control and get it to a, not to say a real game, but a real game.
Yeah, well, it really
Nintendo
does.
Land's fun, obviously. I love Nintendo Land.
It does give me some hope for the next Zelda game, where it does give me that sort of like childlike hope that the next Zelda game you'll be running in like
and like you have to get like dressed up in your Link costume and like bring a sword and like
I'd be all over that.
Yeah, totally, man. And then you just that'd be cool.
They'll start making like Master Sword, like foam Master Swords that you put the Wiimote into the handle.
So you can be like, give them all my money.
They probably have.
Give me all of them. Take all my money. Here are all my wallets. Take my money. Throwing dollar bills at the Nintendo headquarters.
Just like, like, I love you, and then they're like, buy more of our things. You're like, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that is interesting. I need to go and actually play a little bit more on the Wii U. I haven't really gotten to use it too much recently. Outside of tech demos at Best Buy and a few gaming shows that I've seen.
Yeah, Nintendo Land is a whole ton of fun. I would say probably the best game in Nintendo Land is the Luigi's Mansion game. Where
that one was
basically
good. I played that was lots of fun actually. Yeah.
So everyone who is using a Wiimote is walking around like a mansion area, and it's got like it's got all these walls and little sliders, and different things, and you're walking around and you've got a flashlight and you're trying to shine your light on the ghost, and the ghost is playing on the gamepad, and so they can see where everyone is on the gamepad, and you can go invisible or come out of invisibility, and you have to come out of invisibility to attack somebody. But what I really like is that the gameplay can be prolonged, because it's not like once you drain somebody's life, they're gone. They can be revived by other people. So it can be this constant game of cat and mouse, especially if the person who's playing the ghost isn't just trying to power game it and just be like, kill, 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 done. They're trying to screw with people where they're like, do random things. And there's cool little things in there where like lightning will flash, and even if you're invisible, that will show them where you are if you're like next to a window. If lightning flashes, they'll be able to see you.
It's like your silhouette appears and everyone screams.
Yeah. But that game is probably the most fun I've had playing like a Wii style game in a long time, because that is the kind of game that's just like, yes, perfect party game. Because
that's the kind of thing.
That is like definitely a great party game. It was lots of fun.
One time when I was playing, we had this great moment where there was one person left, and everyone's like trying to figure out where I was because I was the ghost, and I was like going around, right? And there was the one person left, and like I would, just to be a dick, I would like once in a while I would just come out of invisibility and then go back into invisibility really quick, so people would be able to see me really really quickly, and so everybody would be like, no, he's right there, he's going this way, just and then one person was like running away, and right before I attacked them, I flashed visible, like, right behind them, and everyone's like, he's right behind you, just turn around, you can fight, and I got him, and it was just, like, the most, like, satisfying moment where everyone's, like, screaming.
It
was amazing.
I am ghost, fuck you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's really the kind of gameplay that I'm looking forward to on the Wii U, is, that sort of asymmetrical gameplay where you've got somebody using the pad and the other people using those controllers. Because that just sounds like a whole new level that you can kind of open up, because for so long, you've kind of had games where all the players are sort of on the same level. They can choose from similar classes, or if they are against each other, it's sort of, they're still on the same plane using the same controls. But now you can have anything, obviously Dungeons and Dragons being the one mainly cited, but...
Oh, yes. Yes. Everyone wants that.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone and their mother wants that.
So
that's really...
Wow. I hadn't even thought of like a...
That's actually something... Okay, that is something that I have always wanted from a Dungeons and Dragons game. Where all of their games have always been like, it's an RPG set in the D&D universe. But no, I don't want that. I don't give a shit about, like, Melgaroth the Great, who destroyed the world at one point and was recreated, and you have to go battle his dragon. Like, I don't give a fuck. I want a game that just facilitates playing D&D. You can, like, for example, have, like, a random map or dungeon generator. You have somebody DMing, and it does all the back end for you. And you just have to play, and you have one person DMing on the gamepad, and they just do things at you, and why does this not exist? I would throw all of the money at
everybody can just like select a die, roll it, shake the controller,
Yeah.
Well, there is something slightly similar to it out now. Not quite on the Wii U or anything, but Roll20. It's a service that's kind of just starting out now, where it's all for online tabletop gaming. And it was kind of cool because the whole idea of being able to connect people from across the world to play tabletop gaming. But I mean, looking at the controls for the DM, I wanted to get, all my friends, like, with laptops just to sit around a table and use it, the stuff I can do with it. It's got, the ability to
I'm
look
looking at it right now. It looks really cool.
Yeah. You can look up music on the fly, for, like, atmosphere. You can look up different sprites to use, at any moment. It looks nice. At least if you're looking for anything with a D&D.
Yeah, it looks very cool. It's something that I've been definitely like looking for a long time, because I love to DM, and the fact that there isn't anything that makes that easier. Like, I love pen and paper and everything, but I would love to be able to see, this full-fledged thing that's built to DM, basically.
Yeah.
I would love that. But yeah, it looks really cool. There's actually, I was kind of thinking about this as well while we were talking about it. There's a game called Dungeon Land that's out now. And it kind of has that asymmetrical gameplay thing, where the way the game works is that there are 3 heroes that go into a dungeon, and the dungeon is actually a theme park. And it's run by a retired DM who's just like nuts and crazy and trying to kill them with all sorts of ridiculous monsters like giant worms and party hats and giant bunnies that explode and all sorts of weird stuff. But what's super cool about it is that in the 4-player mode, 3 people play the heroes, and the 4th player plays the DM. And they get to drop the monsters, and they get to place the monster spawners, and they get to decide when waves of monsters come in. They can place traps, and they can activate traps, and they can make it slightly, easier or harder for the players. And they can also possess monsters that they've spawned and like play as the monsters and fight off the heroes. And then when the heroes get to the boss of the dungeon, the DM gets to play the boss and like spawn in minions and that game seems like it's approaching the kind of that kind of gameplay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of those games that are built around asymmetrical gameplay have just the really cool conceptual ideas, and this is sort of an old one that I heard about and just sounded immensely cool, and I never even got a chance to play it because I haven't been to PAX in a long time. I think that's where I heard a friend who went to PAX told me about it. But his Spy Party was a really cool asymmetrical gameplay idea where one person is a spy at a party, and like they have to essentially like act like one of the partygoers and walk around and accomplish a couple of like secret tasks, and then like the other player is like a sniper on like a rooftop that is like viewing the whole party through their scope and like has to shoot someone and be like they're the spy. So it's like this game of how like one person is trying to disguise and the other person is trying to like see who's trying to disguise themselves, and like the sniper gets to end the game and like see who's right and who's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really cool, and I want to play that at some point. I've never gotten the chance to, but that is like a really cool idea for a game, and I just think it's coming up now on the viewer there. It's a really cool idea, and it's so interesting that and in a situation like that where the players are interacting, but like it's so different the way that both the gameplay styles are working.
Well, it makes it so much less faceless, which is something that I like, where in a lot of multiplayer games, if you're interacting with another person, it's not evident that you're interacting with them. But it's games like it's I think because asymmetrical gameplay has been around for a long time. Like there have been tons of games that do it, but oftentimes it feels faceless, where it's like I don't know anything about the person I'm playing with. I don't know anything. But like in the case of Spy Party specifically, you have this tension, and that's the part that I love. It's games that create this tension between the two players where you're interacting. They are hunting you and you're trying to escape, and it's like there's this very specific personal tension that comes about with it. And it's this great where it's like it actually is you're interacting with another person even if you can't be there and see them. And I love that kind of gameplay where it's you have that level where it feels like you're interacting with someone and you're actually like it feels like something's happening as opposed to just like I know there are other people here, but it doesn't feel like it.
As opposed to something like COD or Halo.
Where it's like you're fighting other people, but it's just because like those people could be bots.
Yeah.
It's just that like bots don't have the skill to do that.
Yeah.
People.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm actually I was at PAX and I never got a chance to play Spy Party, but Jack's roommate got real snuggly with the developer of Spy Party. Yeah. So he got into the like really, really, really early beta, like the stuff they were showing at PAX, and he got into it for free.
I've been looking over his shoulder for so long, just drooling over this game.
Oh my god.
It's amazing too. I watched him play. He beat the developer of the game.
Oh, yeah.
That's how he got into the beta. He was incredible at it. He was like he spent all of his time at the booth, and he was like, I was talking to him. I was like, oh yeah, so how's the game? He's like, that's pretty good. It's a little weird though because I'm beating everyone, no matter who I play. And he ended up beating the developer of his own game.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And the one was his like last 2 PAXs were that booth.
Yeah. The one thing about Spy Party that is a little unfortunate that I should say is that the problem with Spy Party right now, and I don't know where it is because I haven't been looking over his shoulder at the beta or playing it, but I applied to be in that beta. I didn't get it. No, but the one issue with it from when I last saw it was that because there's so few objectives for the spy, it's really, really easy to tell who's the spy if you've played the game before. Because you know exactly what to look for. You're like, oh, that person is going for the book. Like, that person is going for that bookcase there. They probably, like, most NPCs don't go up to that bookcase. That's a fair bet that that's the spy.
Yeah, I've heard that, like, one of the problems with it is that there's a huge learning curve, and, like, you have, to get a good game, like, both people have had to have played, like, exactly the same amount of games or something.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like entirely.
So I think that issue will be resolved once they add in a ton more objectives. But I still feel like it's gonna have that issue where it's like somebody who's really good. It's not like you're really good at like figuring out who the spy is necessarily. You just know the list of objectives, and so you know what to look for. So that is actually an interesting topic because I've kind of pondered like what could they do to remedy that, like what could they add to the game that would.
Well, I was kind of thinking, just as you were talking there, maybe adding more objectives and making so you have just a set number of objectives that you need to go to. So, but you have more than that number. So, I could complete the bookcase and talking to the person, or I could go and hide something in the painting and break the safe.
Yeah, that's actually very true. It's like complete, 3 objectives out of. They would have to have hundreds to really make it like.
Exactly.
A great game.
I don't. So I'm not really sure what the stats are, but I wasn't sure that there was such a big disconnect between who won. Like I thought it was pretty like one of the first things that the developers were working on was trying to make sure that the win percentage was about half and half between sniper and spy. And I think maybe the sniper had a little bit higher percentage, but it like wasn't that much higher, and that was one of the signs that the game was going to work for the developer. So I don't know because I've never played it. I just heard about it.
Well, I think the problem arises when you get a more inexperienced player and then a really experienced player, because when they're evenly matched, it's better because the people who are the person who's playing sniper knows what to look for in the spy, and the spy knows what the sniper's looking for and can avoid doing that. So it's like. They have this sort of this counteracting knowledge, but when it's somebody who's like hasn't played a lot of the game and then somebody who's played a decent amount, the person who's played a decent amount is always going to win because they know exactly what to look for. Because the people will be like, "Oh, I'm just going to walk up to the bookshelf and grab the book."
And that's what I was saying when I said like people had to have played like the exact amount of same amount of games to.
Once you get people who are kind of down the line, it becomes less apparent, just because as soon as people kind of get that learning curve of, I'm looking for this, or they're looking for that, then it does come down to, okay, can I replicate that, or, avoid it in this manner? So, I mean, once you know what you're looking for, then it does become pretty evenly matched, but it's just about getting people to know that, getting them introduced to it for the first few times.
Yeah, and actually, one thing that I think that would really improve it would really help the whole situation is if there were. I don't know about whether there are really multiple ways to achieve one objective, but if there are, that would significantly help because if you could do things like, for example, you need to. I remember one of the objectives was like to transport. You need to like take some microfilm or something and put it somewhere. Um, but it'd be cool if it's like, oh, you could go just put the microfilm there. Or you could go grab a book, put the microfilm in the book, and then like walk over to another bookshelf and put the book back and like so people won't see you transferring this microfilm. Or like, okay, I take the microfilm and maybe I take a drink off of like a tray and then I'm holding like the drink and the microfilm and I like maybe set down the drink on top of the microfilm so you can't see it. Like it's those kind of things where it's like different ways to achieve one objective because I think that would help. It would even out that like somebody who's just starting and somebody who's played a lot kind of disconnect because you could go in and achieve that goal any number of ways. So it wouldn't be instantly apparent that's like, oh, this person's played only like a few times.
That's the thing. I haven't seen it too much recently, but last I checked, they didn't have that at least. But yeah, that would definitely help, giving that a adding not only just multiple missions, but then multiple ways to actually conduct those. That, and then also I feel just having the party members maybe, or the other party attendants carrying out those objectives slightly more often, or doing stuff like going to the bookshelves a little bit more frequently might help some.
Yeah.
Just because, as it stands, or at least as it stood, I suppose, it was pretty clear. If you started walking up to the bookshelf right off the bat, you were the spy. If you started walking over towards any objective within like the first few minutes, you were probably going to be the spy because none of the other guys would go for them.
Yeah. And one of the things, Ben, I don't know if you know this, but one of the cool things that they have added in that I think is awesome is they have the double agent. And the double agent wanders around the party, and you get extra points when you win, being the spy, if you convince the sniper that the double agent is the spy, and he shoots the double agent.
Oh yeah.
Then you get extra points when you win. And I don't know how fleshed out that is right now, but it would be cool to be able to like do things where maybe you plant like the microfilm on the double agent, or like you put it under their drink, or like so it becomes more like you could do more convincing than just sort of being around them and making yourself look less suspicious while they look vaguely suspicious.
Yeah.
But yeah, as it stands, I think that game is a really good example of really cool and innovative asymmetrical gameplay that a lot of games don't have. And I wish more did.
Yeah.
All right, well, that seems like a good ending point for this topic. But we're going to take a quick break just to grab some water and things and do whatever. But we'll be back in just a little bit with the other guest topics. So we'll see you soon. Alright guys, we are back with the podcast we were doing before. So, we are on to the portion of the podcast where we go on the guest topics. So, who would like to start?
I mean, mine was sort of the idea of getting working motion control. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh, all right. Well.
Yeah, we have talked about that a bit, I guess, and
we kind of went off on a tangent.
We did go off some tangents. Today was sort of tangenty, but
a little bit. All right.
Well, I've got sort of a simple question, and for you guys, and this is sort of I figured good considering, and I wish I'd actually kind of thought to do about this the first time, although whatever I brought up last time worked out good too. I don't remember what that was even. But
I don't either. I'd be ashamed to not remember.
I do remember that we talked about it for longer than I thought we were going to, and it turned out to be interesting. But
yeah.
Anyway, this is good for sort of like the beginning of our podcast because I just I was thinking about like what would be good to talk about, what would be like really different from the topic that we're already talking about, and not to like. No,
I get it.
But
to contrast it.
To contrast, and this is just sort of like this is a little more like personal almost. I'm not personal, but like I just want to ask you guys like maybe like talk about what some of our favorite games are, and or maybe actually and excuse me, that's not what I was gonna say. I mean specifically, what was the first game you ever played, or the first game that got you into like not necessarily the first game you ever played, but the first game that you ever played through and really like maybe set you off on the path of someone who cares about games and like still plays games today, and is willing to do a podcast about it and stuff like that.
That's good.
So
I like that.
That's the kind of question I want to ask, and because I have a good answer for that, and I want to see what you guys think about that too. So.
All right. Oh man. Okay.
Go way back.
And then we can also talk about favorite games some other time, I guess. But
yeah. Okay. So, I think. Well, okay. This is hard to say because, for me specifically, because I didn't like grow up with video games necessarily. I've said this. Like anytime this topic comes up, that like I didn't really grow up with video games. I kind of came into them late. But I would say actually probably Myst, like we talked about before.
We talked about that, yeah.
Was like, I don't know if it was, because I can't quite remember like what my first game that I ever really played was, but Myst was definitely the first game that really captured me, and that really, like, I remember being so into it and trying to figure out these puzzles, and like I was so immersed in this world that it blew me away, because when I was a kid I read like beyond feasible amounts. Like I actually at one point in my childhood decided I was going to take a break from reading books so that the library could acquire some new ones, new books that I hadn't read. Because I literally had read every book that I was interested in the library, and so I read all the time, and so I was so immersed in this kind of the stories and things. So being able to, it was like for me, it was like I can be in a book.
Oh yeah, totally.
What? It was incredible, and that I think Myst I can say for sure. I think that I can say for sure. I think I can say for sure that Myst was the first game that really it was the first game that captured me beyond things like I played I don't remember what it was, but it was like some game where you like a caterpillar and you're like eating diamonds on the moon or some weird shit. Like it was like some weird shit that was installed on Mac.
Little PC, old PC.
And I played Scooby Doo, like what some of the Scooby Doo games, and I remember solving mysteries, and I was like, whoa! Yeah. But those I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm enjoying this, but it was Myst was the first one where I was like, wow, this is more than just oh look, I'm solving a mystery with Scooby and the gang. It's like, oh, hey, I can actually be immersed in this story and world, and I want to know what's gonna happen. And I think that's the first one that I was really, really like captured by as a kid. More recently though, it's really unfortunate because I don't have like never-ending resources to purchase games, but
Yeah.
I know Journey is a game that I saw and went, I know I'm gonna be captured by this game if I get it. But as far as like games that really, really kind of gave me that feeling again, I think probably Psychonauts would be more recently that game for me, because Psychonauts was so different from a lot of those games that were around at that time, where it was like, oh, crazy action adventure games and things, but it was like oftentimes you didn't really care about the story. Like I played a lot of I played Banjo-Kazooie games and a little bit. I didn't play them as much as I would have loved, but I played like Jak and Daxter and all of those, and those were good, but the story was so thin. Like that was the problem, that I never, like, I enjoyed them, but I never like were super into them, because it was like, okay, Banjo-Kazooie, Gruntilda is mean and curses you, and you have to go do some stuff to defeat her. And it's like, all of these games, those kind of games that were like super popular, like action adventure third-person games, were like huge. And then Psychonauts was totally different because it had this huge immersive story, and it was wonky and weird, and the characters were totally offbeat, and the characters were really interesting, and like I wanted to know what was going to go on. And it was a really like enthralling experience because it appealed to like my kind of humor, for one, and two, it was something beyond just like, there's a bad guy, they've done something evil, you need to go defeat them.
Yeah.
Like sort of Mario vein of story, where it's like, the princess is kidnapped, go defeat the bad guy and rescue the princess.
Get the cake.
Yeah.
I totally like, I've heard about Psychonauts, and I've actually played maybe the first couple of levels, and I just haven't had a chance to play it all the way through, but it looked pretty cool. And I definitely also remember playing like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff way back, and like, I mean, I really like Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie is a great game, but
sure.
I do get like where like some of the story is like you know, it's a pretty basic story. Like that's sort of what they were going for. Is just like, you jump in and you're gonna go on an adventure, and I mean, sometimes it's kind of funny, you know, the bird like insults things or whatever. But yeah, there's that. I don't know. That's just me reacting to stuff that you're saying. And it's like I never had that Myst experience, which apparently you guys both had, which is really too bad. And I think that might be something that's really cool to go back to delve into the past and play or something.
Save it for later. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, I'll put it on the list. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess for me, really, it's kind of difficult because I've been thinking about this, you know, as you were talking, and coming into games for me was really a gradual experience. Like, it started off, you know, just sort of with, you know, Myst was like the real first one. But then from there, I got into RTSs a lot. You know, grand strategy as a kid. So that's mostly what I was playing. Yeah.
A little bit of that for me too. I was never like, I never played them a ton. Age of Empires I played a shit ton, but but it was always like people I knew, or like my cousins and stuff playing. Like, I know my cousin played a ton of Red Alert and Red Alert 2. And yeah, I know that's definitely, that was a part. I think it was because it was like end of the 90s. That was like a big thing. RTS was kind of blooming into fruition then.
Remember having some really like just like casual fun with RTSs. Like, I loved Zoo Tycoon and Age of Mythology.
Yes.
Which was like awesome. And it's funny, I never got like Age of Empires or something. I just like didn't get like ever play it, and I'm sure I would love it if I did, or, you know, at least feel some sort of like, oh yeah, this is the nostalgia that I missed out on. But like, I mean, I love Age of Mythology, which just is like,
oh yeah,
griffins and like and stuff. And was really fun, and I think this is like a slightly more recent. When I say slightly, I mean like, like maybe freshman year, like middle school and high school, or early high school, where I played Civ 3 a lot, and that is a really cool game, although it's extremely time consuming, and it was like it's like the game where I would if I had like an album or like a new album to listen to, and at this point I wasn't super into music, so I don't know how much this happened, but like I would like go play Civ 3 and like listen to the whole album or something, and it'd be pretty cool, and it would just sort of be like my little like introvert time or something. But yeah, and it's funny. I used to read like a ton too, like when I was a kid, and I don't really know that I ever had the experience of like running the library out of books, but I would definitely just like put everything on hold and like check out 11 books, and then like next week go like check out more and like have that experience. And I think that's funny. Maybe a lot of video gamers have that in common, and we sort of don't realize it because we play video games more now. Some things about I sort of wish I actually read more, which is sort of a disappointment because it's so easy to play video games sometimes that like I don't go like check out a book or something. But it's sort of the same values apply, I would say, in a lot of ways. Not for all games, but like a good deal of them. And well, I mean, okay, if I'm already talking, I might as well say so. I would say like I mean I got introduced through video games like definitely through like my friends like way back. My parents did not ever like have video games or introduce me to video games or like buy video games for me if they saw them or something. They were like just not into that at all, and I mean they weren't like against it. They just like didn't. It was not part of their world at all. So I would occasionally see them at friends' houses, and yeah, like I think I played a couple like of those RTSs maybe way back, but like I'm not sure that those were my first. I think the first I ever played were maybe like Pajama Sam and stuff at friends' houses. And
Raise the roof for Pajama Sam!
I love Pajama Sam, but those at the same time those were still not necessarily the games that got me into video games because they were those point and clicks and just sort of like fun little adventures. Awesome.
Okay, those. Let me just go on a short rant / tangent here. Oh damn, those were fucking solid point and click games. Like didn't even consider that like until I went back and like looked at some of those games. And I'm like, wow, these are actually really good, like solid point and click adventures, and they're awesome. And I'm just gonna really quickly. Oh my, those are very nice pajamas you're wearing today. Oh, is that a cape? Oh, don't mind them. They're just the complimentary nuts. Favorite quote from any Pajama Sam game ever.
Oh, don't mind them. Complimentary nuts. Yeah, I love all those little extras. I mean, talking about Pajama Sam, like there's all those little extra details they would put in it. And you'd like click on some random thing, and like it would have some animation, or like all the little like dialogue pieces that were just sort of like clever, witty things, and like the way the whole game. Like there was 3 of them, and they actually made a 4th one later on with a different voice actor, and it's not as good.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I've never heard of it.
I mean, I wouldn't call it an abomination or anything, but it's just like.
Well, if you have a different voice actor,
it's a different voice actor, and the voice it just throws you off like completely.
Did you know that same voice actor, who is a woman, voices Joe's wife on Family Guy?
I had no idea.
It's weird.
That's cool.
Also, I hate Family Guy. I'm just gonna put that out there right now. Send your angry comments. Care of me. But it was weird watching Family Guy and hearing that voice and going, "Why is Pajama Sam a pregnant woman?"
Oh, weird. Oh gosh.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I mean, I really liked those, and I was like, some of my friends, we would go over and like play those, and like eventually try to beat them, and because we were young and not very good at games, like it took us a really long friggin' time. Where now I would maybe go back and play a Pajama Sam game in like half an hour or something. But yeah, like those are those little like dumb games that I would play. I mean, again, Pajama Sam, Spy Fox, Putt Putt.
Spy Fox. Not so much Putt Putt for me.
I mean, for me, it was basically just Pajama Sam, but I know it was Humongous Entertainment also did those, and they're also really good games.
Oh, Backyard Baseball!
Dude, Backyard Baseball! Yeah, I totally played Backyard Baseball.
I saw that played so much. Everyone in my class talked about it, but I never got into it.
I mean, at that, my dad liked baseball a lot, so I guess baseball was interesting to me in some. Anyway, but like, yeah, those games didn't really get me into games or anything. It was like, what happened is my parents like slowly saw me being like more and more interested in video games and stuff, and I would play them at friends' houses, and I would occasionally see like Banjo-Kazooie or Pokemon Coliseum, or not Coliseum, Pokemon Stadium, excuse me. And like stuff for the N64, and then like Smash Bros. Melee came out like eventually, and I just I thought it was like a really cool game, and I think maybe Smash Bros. Melee was one of the first games that I had more of an interest in, but then like the first game, and at that point I was sort of invested in games a little bit, so I guess you could give a lot of the credit to Smash Bros. Melee, which I actually didn't end up owning for a while. I do own it now, and I love it, and I have everything in it, but I think that like the first game that I ever owned, and I gotta say my parents just made such a good call. Like they got me like for like my 11th birthday or something. They Pokemon Sapphire and a new Game Boy Advance, and it was like, boom! All of a sudden, like I was and I mean, I wouldn't say I play Pokemon a whole ton now, but I really regarded it like fondly, and I watched the show. I didn't have a game for a while, but I watched the first show when it came out, so I didn't start at Generation 3, I knew Generation 1. But yeah, so I had that game, and it was really cool, and I played through it, and it was something I'd always look forward to doing, and that was like the first game that I really had that I played through that was tons of fun, and I loved it, and yeah, so that would have been mine.
Huh. I know, I just go back to the RTS thing really quick. With the RTSs, I'd say there was sort of a moment when I was playing
Sapphire.
Battle for Middle-earth. There we go. That was the RTS I'd say that actually sort of started to get me into gaming. Really, just because beforehand I'd always been playing, I'd go sit down, play an RTS with a friend or something like that, and it'd be kind of interesting, but, I'd go back to reading, go back to playing outside or something like that afterward. But once I started getting into Battle for Middle-earth, because the Lord of the Rings, fandom had always been a part of my childhood, so seeing that on the screen, seeing the armies, marching across the map, watching as, the Ents make their last stand against an orc horde, that was magical to me. Looking at how these worlds are brought to life. I'd probably say the game that really got me, surprisingly enough, and I don't know, it would probably be Halo. I mean, it was kind of the first console game I ever really got into.
Halo was a great game. It's just the fact of it was it was an excellent single player shooter experience.
That was the story was what really got me.
Yeah, and the story was really cool. That's true. I totally agree with you on that. And although sorry to interrupt it all, but although that wasn't necessarily one of the games that got me into gaming, I definitely went over to friends' houses and played that and thought it was a really cool experience, and eventually later got the game and played all the way through it later. But yeah, that was Halo. Yeah, Halo Combat Evolved, awesome game.
Yeah, I remember after I played that, I immediately went out, got the books for it, started reading all the background and stuff. But
oh, cool.
Yeah, that
yeah, I never ended up reading the books, but
that was the thing. It sort of set me down the path of really enjoying the story in games. So a lot of people, will tend to focus on or really enjoy games like Smash Brothers, Mario Kart and whatnot. And I have fun with those, but the games that I really find myself, being drawn to and really enjoying are games like Mass Effect, Morrowind, any game where you have sort of an immersive universe.
Yeah, Oblivion was awesome. I did not play Morrowind, but I love Oblivion. I loved Oblivion. Wow. I have a MacBook, and I it went on sale the other day or something, and I was like, and it's only for PC, and I just cried. I just cried my heart out. I mean, I didn't cry, but I was like, I regret this entire decision. And I had a moment where I was like, why did I get it back? And
I just gotta get those emulators.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably get a boot camp or something at some point, but whatever. The point is, I mean, Mac PC wars aside, Oblivion's an awesome game.
Oh yeah, it is.
That was Skyrim's good too, but I love Oblivion.
Yeah, it really won't ever beat it. In terms of kind of games that have really made me feel that recently, I'd say so Darwinia. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Darwin, explain that.
I've heard of
So-
it, but I don't know really anything about it.
Oh, here's that pistol in the Halo footage, by the way.
Oh yeah,
The pistol, man. Oh, love it.
everyone will always remember that.
Yeah.
It will just be the defining gun from Halo 1 for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. When with Darwinia though, so you ever seen any of Introvision's games?
I don't know the name.
I
of
can't say that I have.
I don't know they do some stuff. Usually it's fairly small, low budget, kind of indie studio, but they do a lot of really interesting, innovative things. They did oh god, not Missile Command, thermonuclear warfare. God. Yeah, I mean here with Darwinia, essentially the whole idea was you've accidentally found your way into this research environment for a digital world, and a virus has now gone and corrupted it, and pretty much you have to go and save these like citizens while working with this scientist who's sort of overwatching. But they made me care about those pixels more than more than Halo even did almost. And the interesting thing was none of these people were actually, they never had any voice actors, never spoke, never did anything except for scream, kind of like little squeaks when they died. But yeah, it was heartbreaking with that. But they made me connect with this civilization, with this kind of culture, and with this whole world in a way that I haven't in so long.
Mm.
Yeah, it looks like
really
an
cool.
interesting game.
Yeah, very simplistic, very basic, kind of concepts and ideas, but the world they created, and this whole kind of idea that they did, where the game that I'm playing is one that I could potentially have just sat down and accidentally found my way into this mainframe database if I had been looking for it. And there are other games like one where it is about a thermonuclear warfare, and I can't remember the name right now, but it's all done in that kind of a command and control style where you're placing down these bunkers and firing off missiles and watching as millions of people die, but it feels very authentic. Like I can really get into that role.
Yeah, what's interesting when you were bringing up like caring about pixels.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to use that. Hold on. I'm trying to find a video here that doesn't have somebody's face, and I'm sorry for the random bleeps of audio on the stream. This is a game that I actually really got into. It's a game called Thomas Was Alone. And this is like an indie platformer.
I've seen it like in Steam.
Yeah, and the cool part about it is like a similar thing where it's these computer sort of glitches, and they all have these personalities. But the great part about the game is that they're just rectangles. They're only rectangles. But there's this narrator who sounds an awful lot like the narrator from those old Harry Potter games.
Oh.
A little bit. And a little bit like Martin Freeman, but he does this narration about these blocks as if they're characters, and the main character is Thomas, and they're talking about not like, oh, these characters did this, and that this is what they're doing in the game, but he talks about often, like, for example, Thomas can jump, his character can jump really high, and so he often talks about, like, Thomas was so proud that he could jump, like, that he could jump over these blocks where Chris could not, and like Chris is a square, and Chris can't jump very high, but can go under small, like, cracks and things. And so every character kind of has these personalities and these things based on, like, what they can do, purely on how high they can jump, whether they can float in water, whether they can fit in small areas. And it's a game that has so much character. And, like, there's a character who comes in later named Claire, who's, like, a really big block. And she's the only block early in the game that can float in water. And all the narration talks about how Claire thinks that she's a superhero because no one else can float in water. Everyone else dies when they go in the water. And so it's just got all this unique like character, and it makes you care about rectangles. It's amazing because you care so much and get so involved with these characters who are literally just rectangles. And that's definitely a game that's captured me recently, where I've played a ton of it, and the puzzle platforming is really good, and it handles really well, and the narration is just amazing, and it really does make you care about these characters that are nothing more than rectangles.
Yeah.
So I would say if you have the small amount of money, I don't know how much it is on Steam, but I remember it's cheap. If you have the money, definitely check it out.
Yeah,
It's definitely worth it.
Sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, it's great. And it's not too hard, too. That's the part that I like, is that it's not, like, incredibly difficult and you're dying a ton. It's very, like, thinky, and you have to think through the puzzles. But once you've thought through it, they're not necessarily hard to complete. So that's the nice bit. It's not like one of those games where you're frustrated sitting with it for hours. It's just more like you can casually sit around and play it and enjoy the story of it.
Huh. Yeah, I really like that, and the idea of not making it just solely skill based is interesting there. With in terms of the puzzles.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun game. Well, have we run out of steam on that topic?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have too much more to say about my childhood gaming. I suppose that about sums it up.
Well, okay, I do have one small point that I forgot to bring it up, but Portal, the first Portal, really captured me as far as like story and that kind of thing, and that's something that really got me back into gaming.
I mean,
Portal 1.
Oh yeah.
I think we can all agree, and many people will agree with us, that Portal was a friggin' awesome game.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
That was because largely of the story that they created for you, with a really cool platformer puzzle solving experience at the same time.
Yeah.
And also the length of the game is just like cooked to perfection. Like that was exactly the right amount you needed for it. It's sort of simple mechanics and really cool.
Yeah.
And, another one of those situations where they create this like character who is like faceless, because you sort of can catch glimpses of her in the games. But voiceless, faceless, traditional like first person character who you like end up caring about at the end of the game. And I would say that they even did a better job of that in Portal than necessarily in like Half-Life 2, where Half-Life 2 has a really cool story, and in Half-Life 2 I would say in Half-Life 2 I care about the other characters, but Gordon Freeman himself is sort of someone who I view as the guy who can swing a crowbar really fast, and that's all he is.
He is very faceless.
Yeah, like Gordon Freeman is like
Compared to
really
Shell.
faceless, and like Shell is like cool. I don't know, man. Like
Exactly.
Well, she's also
yeah.
you're so alone as Shell, whereas
You have a really like huge like alone experience, which is sort of like
kind of Shadow of the Colossus style.
or like I always get those.
You don't really have.
games and,
You don't really have other characters to care about necessarily.
yeah.
That's the thing. And I thought it was interesting also just since you have GLaDOS talking to you, this one character so continuously, you're kind of able to get a little bit of a feel and vibe, for her based on what GLaDOS keeps saying to you. You start caring about her.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to have that like interactivity. It's also like completely believable because, there's no one to talk to. It's just like someone playing GLaDOS is like playing over the loudspeaker at you. So it's like, and sometimes like it was a really good experience or situation to have for the faceless, voiceless like first person character, because like okay, to use Half-Life 2 as an example again, like a real character would have talked back.
Yeah.
Like real Gordon Freeman would have talked back, but a real Chell wouldn't have had any opportunity to there's like no reason for Chell to talk back at any point because
Exactly.
it's just like a robot. And yeah, really cool experience. Portal's awesome. If we're going through games that like really gave us that awesome like immersive experience, The Walking Dead was really good.
Really?
And yeah, it was awesome.
I've been hearing a lot about it from my roommate.
Yeah, and it's $25, and I didn't want to buy it for that much, and it went on sale for 50% at some point, so I got it when that happened. And really good game. It's not all that long because it's so story based, and like if it's not something you want to spend money on, I would almost suggest maybe watching a Let's Play of it, because it is basically an interactive movie. Although there's a lot of choices that you make in the game. And the full experience, you're never going to get the full experience unless you are, making those choices, because you feel a lot of that pressure on yourself to be like, wow, I have to save one of these two people, or something. And yeah, really cool game. It doesn't follow the comic book or the TV show at all. It's like the same universe but different characters. And although some characters make cameos from the comic book and show, but all the main characters are different people. And what's really cool about what makes the game work is that the two main characters, Lee and Clementine, you really start to care about them because they're like just such like interesting like people and really like good characters, and especially Clementine, who's like the cutest little darling girl, and the ending is very sad but good. And yeah. So really, that was a really good, really solid game.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. In other games that have made me kind of feel that same captured, I'd probably say Mass Effect, of course, being one of the big ones recently. Although everyone knows about that one.
Mass Effect is good, yeah.
Yeah. On top of that, though, I'd say Dwarf Fortress, actually. I got into that. I didn't, get into the really deep, complex stuff, but going through all the documentation, going through all the rules and whatnot, and getting my first little tiny fortress, off the ground, that felt really rewarding. Having gone through and... Oh, yeah.
Oh, just, yeah, I and that's such a weird experience with that. That's such a weird game where, I tried to play a little bit of it, and I just... Admittedly, I sort of lost patience. I didn't get irritated with it. I just sort of went like, wow, this is really complicated, and I don't know if I want to devote the time to it right now. But I did see like the potential to be like a really cool game, and if like I ever learned all the button commands and like what everything does, it'd be really cool. And I know a few people who think it's a really cool game, and yeah, and that's such a unique game that it's really cool. It's so very complicated.
I love the kind of just really interactive aspect, just because you obviously own your Dwarf Fortress, you built all of that, but the world is generated around you, so it's really kind of a very personal feeling. Everything is just very, I don't know, as to say, it's owned by you, and when something happens, it is very, very visceral.
Yeah, I barely played any of it, and I sort of was like fumbling through, trying to dig and like set up a little caravan. I never really got set up, but like just going through the level, like randomization, like generation process is a really cool experience, because it like sort of does it all in front of you, and it's just cool, and that way it presents it to you, and like the art is obviously so like minimal, like, but it's cool. It's a really cool experience.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think this seems like an incredibly good time to end the podcast. But before we do, we need to make an announcement about a new sort of podcast thing we're starting.
Yes.
So, we are starting a thing called Gaming Book Club.
Yay.
Cool. I should take this away. It'll change on the stream.
Hey, Splice, what's Gaming Book Club?
Well, thank you for asking, Sharkadao.
Here it is.
Gaming Book Club is basically a book club, but with video games. So instead of, let's read to chapter 10 of the book and then meet up and talk about it, it's let's play to chapter 10 and then meet up and talk about it. But when we meet up and talk about it, it's a podcast. So right now you are currently seeing the Gaming Book Club overlay for the podcast. And we're going to try to do these in about 2-week intervals. It might depend on the game. Certain games we might want to say, okay, we want to finish the whole game, so we're going to give it like a month or something. But we're aiming for 2-week intervals on this. And so we're announcing it, and the first game that we are playing is Celestial Mechanica. So Celestial Mechanica is a free-to-play indie puzzle, well, not a puzzle platformer, but like an action platformer. Similar vein to like Meat Boy, but longer levels, more story-based, less aggravating. So
good.
it's got some really nice 8-bit style graphics, and it's pretty hard, but quite a bit of fun. And you can find that at, I believe, celestialmechanica.com. Let me just check that. Yes, celestialmechanica.com. And you can download that for Mac or PC. And it's got a really great 8-bit soundtrack going on. And it's a very nice game. It's quite a bit of fun. And that is what we'll be playing for the next podcast. And we'll be talking about it. And I'll put a link to the website in the description of the VOD when it comes out. This level is quite hard. Anyway, so other than that, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. And also, I'd like to say check out our website, namelesspixel.net, where we post a video every single day except Sunday. And make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube, which is youtube.com/namelesspixel. And you can follow me on Twitter, or us on Twitter, at twitter.com/namelesspixel. I think that's how the Twitter things break out. So, thank you guys for being on the podcast, and bye-bye.